Oh, it's cold. That's new. Put that in there. Oh. Ow. I think I should just tell Uline that they don't need to send me the catalog anymore. It feels like a waste, right? Yeah, some work being done. I got to get rid of a couple of things. I put that in there. And put some more of this stuff in that one. I think I got to get rid of these. I didn't put those in, and I don't like them. And this thing, this is going in somewhere. Jesus Christ, I gotta put my socks on. It's nice and chill here. I think I might go hiking. I don't think I can. It's a Monday, but the lady who trains me is waiting on COVID results. Oh, fuck. Oh, Ophelia, do me a favor, man. I can't monitor this shit. If one of those kind of boy cunt trolls starts pestering me, would you write down the screen name and I'll just block them? You just send it to me. That would be helpful. I don't generally block, but it kind of fucks up the flow. It's no fun. No, I'm not hiking with Dean, man. Dean's got a big interview today. Dean's got the big interview today. And so he's in that. I did text him to go. I'm going to have to wait till he gets through this week. And yeah, I just I don't want to ask anybody to sort of be a police or anything, but I just I don't really notice names or see anybody, but I know when there's, douchebags. So and I guess you'll have to be the judge, but the last couple of days I've already been sad. I don't need to deal with the fucking onslaught. If I'm going to engage with you people. Yeah, you too close? Use whatever options you have at your disposal to maintain your sanity without hurting yourself or others, alright, fuckers? I don't know if I should keep doing these. I think I'm running. Whoa. I think I'm. It's like my life is not that interesting. I'm living the same fucking life you guys are. It's like, day to day. It's a big fucking smear on the calendar. Every day's a fucking week. I get up so fucking early, and then I go to bed it's like there's 15, 18-hour days. And I do things, but I don't know what day it is generally, unless I have to do the show. So I know what day Sunday is and Monday and Wednesday and Thursday. I know what those days are. I'm putting my socks on. Pretty fucking exciting shit, man. Weird dream, though. Weird dream. I dreamed that I woke up and I was sort of on this day bed, and next to me over in another bed was I couldn't make it out, but it was Patton and his wife Meredith. And I was laying there and I'm like, where am I? What is this about? And they're just looking at me. No one's telling me. I'm like, am I at your house? Whose house am I at? How did I get here? And I thought I had blacked out, or I thought that, like I relapsed or whatever, but I could not. And I just sat there in my dream trying to piece together how I was just laying alone on a daybed in Patton and Meredith's house. And we were all sort of just waking up. And I was like, why don't you guys tell me, why am I here? And they were sort of like, don't know what that meant. Maybe it had something to do with them being together and being so in love, and me being alone and not knowing why I got here. Hey, Lynn. Hummingbird. So many birds around here. I don't really know. I didn't watch the Dazed and Confused things. I've not watched any of those live read-throughs. I haven't watched anything. I watch, movies and TV shows, but I don't really listen to podcasts, and I don't really engage in, modern entertainment right now. Like, I tend to only watch shows that look like they used to. I don't need to watch network shows that are basically doing what I'm doing right now. It's just depressing. You know what I mean? I don't know if the song and dance is coming back, but the song and dance is sad. No, I haven't rewatched Mr. Show. I don't think I've seen all of the Mr. Shows either way. Oh, maybe it's because Michelle died suddenly and Patton found love again in Meredith. Huh. Pretty good. Pretty good. What has happened, man? I didn't even put up the one from yesterday where I played guitar because I was feeling so shitty. And I did not have a good time. So I just let it go away. LD. Love is metaphysical gravity. What the fuck have I watched? I fucking rewatched The Fighter for probably the 10th or 15th time. I've watched that thing on purpose so many times, and I was just flipping, which I'll still do. And it was on one of the HBOs, and I sat there with my friend and watched the entire Fighter again. And I watched the second installation of the Comedy Store doc. And then I texted Mike Binder and I said, the doc is good. Not enough me, but other than that, pretty good. And then I said, word on the street is, I don't know if I can, I'll keep that between me and Mike. I don't want to start any trouble. Christian Bale is a fucking genius, man. I mean, that is the best Wahlberg has ever been because he just acts the fuck out of it. Like he had it's very impressive to me when movie stars who are proficient actors because they're movie stars actually have to really act. And like Wahlberg really had to turn some shit off inside of him. You know? He had to like shut some stuff down and really do the fucking job. And to hold the screen next to fucking Bale, just fucking dominating that shit, Melissa Leo and that fucking team of fucking sisters. Wow. What a fucking great movie. And I just could not watch it. I had to watch it. I did one of my first paid comedy shows in Lowell. And I always had, The Fighter takes place in Lowell. And I always had sort of a weird kind of mythic attraction to Lowell because it was where Kerouac came from. And when I was a younger man, that was important for some reason. That Kerouac came from Lowell. And I was going to school in Boston. I remember me and my buddy Jim took a ride up to Lowell to see the grave of Jack Kerouac. And there was this old guy at the graveyard whose teeth kept falling into his mouth because he didn't have them inside. And he said, that grave is very popular. Joan Baez and Bobby Dylan came up here once. He'd been there a long time, man. Yeah, it's so sad in Lowell. It was sad. It's been sad a long time. But when I first started doing comedy, paid comedy, there was a gig that Mike Clark used to book. Mike Clark is Lenny's brother. Lenny's brother Mike. Lenny Clark's brother Mike used to book a club up there. It was a one-nighter. It was at a place called the Derby Park. The Derby Park. Derby Park. The Derby Park. And you drive up to Lowell. It was just a one-nighter at a bar. And there was kind of a stage. I remember it had a brass ring around it. And I was opening for Chris Shino, who I don't know what happened to Chris Shino. But that was one of my first paid gigs, was in Lowell at the Derby Park, probably in must have been 88, maybe earlier. And then another one of my first paid gigs was at Captain Nick's in Agunquit, Maine, opening for Nick DiPaolo. I don't think he's much older than me, but he'd been doing it longer than me. Captain Nick's in Agunquit. Shino. No, I think Shino is spelled Sheeno. Chris Shino. Yeah. I just remember that fucking room because they were right there. It was just like, that was what you did, man. That's how I started doing comedy. It was in the New England area, the one-nighter circuit. You just never knew what the fuck you were going to drive into, man. You would just get these directions and a time, and you drive into the New England countryside somewhere. Holy shit. I drove from Boston to Machias, Maine, which I think is, I'm not getting a good bounce off of this. Machias, Maine, which I think is the furthest point east in the United States. Machias. I drove from Boston to Machias. It took me like, I don't know, it felt like 8-9 hours or something to open for Frank Santos, the X-rated hypnotist who had to turn it down because it was a college campus. And I remember as I drove up to Maine, I guess it was a beautiful drive, but when you're me, you're just sort of like, is this going to suck? Is this going to suck? I got to open up for a hypnotist in the furthest point east in the United States at a college. And I just remember the further I got up into Maine, and I don't mean to make a hacky joke, but it seemed like the gene pool was getting a little tighter. I just remembered that I stopped at a gas station and a man who filled my car up had those flipper hands. But I don't think that's incest. I think that's thalidomide. God, where were some of those other gigs? We used to do Pancho Villas and Leominster. And I just remember the only thing that Leominster was famous for was like a very high teen suicide rate. See, and that Pancho Villa's in Leominster was like a good gig. So this is like 88-ish. So how old am I? 63, 73, 83, 25. And that's how I really kind of learned how to do the comedy, which I'm quite good at by now. It took a long time. I haven't done it lately. But they were usually two-man shows. That's how I fucking just jump in, man. You'd go up cold at some fucking bar in the middle of fucking Massachusetts or Vermont or Rhode Island or Maine or fucking New Hampshire. You go up cold, do a half hour, and bring the other guy up for 45 minutes. Fucking crazy. You grew up in Leominster? Do you remember Pancho Villa's? Yeah. All right, it's time to start making that list. Pancho Villa's had this giant fucking disco ball. It's crazy, man. Then there was Johnny Yee's down in the Cape. That was a big gig. That was another Mike Clark gig. Johnny Yee's in Yarmouth. They had the comedy show after the hula show. Giant stage where I do big dance number. The guy who ran the place, who ran the hula show, his name was Wayne. We weighed about 300 pounds, long hair. And then they roll up the hula show, slide the stage in, and then you go up there on the bandstand stage and do the fucking comedy show. Johnny Yee's. Okay. Oh, this is going to be fun. I don't usually do this. But I'm going to start writing down people to block. Because I can't keep doing this if people keep being cunts. I played the Kowloon in Saugus like right when it opened, actually. That was rough. I used to do, God, I got in trouble there, actually. But I used to do all the nicks at one time when I was very young. It must have been 89, 90, or whatever it was when I was like working up there. Because I moved to New York in 89, but I had to keep going up to New England to make a living. But yeah, I did the Kowloon when it started. That place was crazy, man. They go like 400 or 500 people. It's fucking nuts. But I called. I remember I got in trouble with the Kowloon because a drunk woman ruined my show before I even got into it, like right at the beginning of the show, and I called her a cunt, and I hadn't really gotten the audience on my side yet, so it was a problem. And then I wrote a bit about it. I said, what was the bit? I was like, when you say cunt, it's a long row back to the island of funny. It's like, yeah, hey man. No, I said cunt. It's stupid. It was bad. And it's like when you, in those rooms, man, I'm just like this fucking aggravated, neurotic, angry Jew. Just touring around to these fucking pubs and bars and hotel ballrooms in fucking New England, screaming about myself to fucking New England townies. It's not good. Not a good scene. I remember Jimmy's in Dedham. That was close by. I think that's where some guy got up and like bit David Cross's ear. I think he's told the story on the podcast. Wayne Coyne is on the show today. Oh, fuck, man. There was Frank's in Franklin. Frank's in Franklin was owned by a guy named Frank who was always drunk. He was this drunk old man. You'd go down there to do the gig, and you'd have to sit there with Frank, and he was just shit-faced. And it was like some kind of restaurant. Banditos in Fall River. I think there was another Jimmy's in like Fall River. I'm sorry. Use whatever options you have at your disposal to maintain your sanity without hurting yourself or others, you fuckers. Frank's in Franklin. Then up in Vermont, there was a place called The Front. I remember I drove up there with Cross. Fucking Dave. We used to work together occasionally in these one-nighters. And like, you know, Dave at that time, I mean, he was a hard sell for people that got him. But boy, he'd go into these rooms, man. Oh my God. Nobody could eat shit like Cross. It was great. It was the best because he relished in it. He would do his weird shit. And these people would just be looking at him like, what the fuck is happening? They didn't know if it was real, if it wasn't real, if it was a character. Oh my God. It was fucking great. Did I ever do a set in Manchester, New Hampshire? Yeah. There was a place called, was it Christopher's? I might have done it once or twice. Any old memories of Acme? In Minneapolis? Yes. Yes. I got fucking kicked out of Acme for a decade. That fucking guy wouldn't let me work there for a fucking decade. Because, I don't know, man. I had one of the best weekends of my life there, really. Any good stories about Hedberg? I don't know if they're good stories. I remember one time working in Indianapolis, and I was at a bar afterwards at the People that, I mean, I did one of my last drug runs with Hedberg up in Seattle. Just fucking 3 days straight. In and out of that hotel room with him and Lynn. Weird people coming around. It's weird when somebody gets strung out and fucked up on drugs. The weird type of, there's always people that bring them drugs. Even when they know they're dying, there's always people there to supply what's necessary to finish the job. And they just give it to them usually. That's their job, the drug guy. And you know when they're around. When someone's got a drug habit, there's always like 1 or 2 or 3 drug guys around. Just there to be like, you know, they get dispatched from hell. And they're like, yeah, we got him. I got him. I'll get him his shit. And over time, they take him down. What was I talking about? Oh, Acme. Speaking of drugs. That was the, I think it was the same weekend where I'd gone out there and I had what was left of an 8-ball that I don't know what it was, but like some guy was going to send me fucking drugs to Acme. This guy Bob, who I knew from out here, because I was already fucking jacked up on the yayo, and you know, and I just needed more, and I wanted some more for the weekend up there at Acme. And he told me he was going to stick it in an 8-ball into some video cassette and FedEx it to me. So I was at the club the next day waiting outside for the FedEx guy. I'd fucking FedExed a dude hundreds of dollars because I didn't know how to get fucking blow in Minneapolis. And then like the guy fucking the FedEx guy comes, you know, and I'm like, you got anything for Marc Maron? Is there a package? He's like, no. Could you get off the truck, please? Fucking guy ripped me off for $500. But no, that's not the story. The story was my buddy Charlie Izell. How's Charlie Izell doing? Does anyone know Charlie? Charlie Izell was out there because he had split LA, and we were just hanging out, drinking. I think we ended up having a little blow, but it just evolved. It was like, I don't remember if it was Halloween or what the party was, but it just turned into one of these these great fucking weekends where, it was just sad. We were sitting around drinking, and our lives, like, it wasn't a draw. No one gave a fuck about my comedy, but me and Charlie were hanging out, and we're, drinking beers all day at the fucking condo. And I just remember it was like just so depressing. We went to a fucking strip club during the day, and there was some sort of like open mic. You ever been to a strip show open mic? That is the saddest fucking thing. There used to be this fucking strip club right across from Acme. Deja Vu. And I'm not a strip club guy, but we were like, fuck it, we're drunk. It's 3:30. The blow didn't come. Let's go do this. Let's really fucking see if we can feel ashamed of ourselves by Ezel. And I remember we were just laying there drunk. Like after the show, been drinking all day. And I just remember we're watching some cowboy movie on a television. And I was like, we're not cowboys. And then we were like, well, what are we going to do now? And I said, well, what would Keith Richards do? And Charlie said, oh, he wouldn't be us. But then, out of nowhere, a couple of the waitresses came over, and they were in costumes and they were drunk. And we just had this fun party. We just like hung out for hours, drinking, laughing, in costumes, dancing and shit. And it was like, we are cowboys. We did it. We had fun with other people. It's not sad. And then Lewis didn't let me work at the club for a decade. More than a decade. No Acme. Then there was a place, I think it was called Jimmy's in Fall River. Fall River, not a great area. I remember I went down with my girlfriend at the time. We did the gig, and the motherfucker was paying me in cash at the bar. A couple of guys were eyeballing me. And like I just said to my girlfriend, I said, all right, we're going to walk to the door calmly, and then we're going to run to the fucking car because these guys are going to roll us. And we walked to the door calmly, and then we just bolted to the fucking car, and sure enough, those two fuckers came out. They were going to fucking roll us in the fucking parking lot. Yeah. I don't know if it was the bar that the accused was based on, but it was nearby. I was telling the story about I was on the mountain with Dino. Drug stories. Just the worst. Just the worst. There were the last couple of times I did drugs. One was with Hedberg in Seattle, and the other was that fucking Chicago Comedy Festival. The first or second Chicago Comedy Festival. That was a 3-dayer. No sleep. And we were just so shameless. Me and fucking Dave. Not Cross, another guy who's sober now too, for years. We just getting 8 balls and we're doing fucking blow, and it's a festival, and like all these young comics are coming through the room because it's like people know it's a party room. But it was like no one was doing the blow. But me and Dave, these old guys, it was almost like this next generation was coming up to the room to see what it used to be like. It's like, that's what it looks like. That's the old days over there. Crack ever? Smoked a little coke in my time, but not much. Thank God. Didn't get involved with that. Never got involved with the dope too heavy. Tried it a few times. Threw up, sweat. Couldn't keep my head up. I was like, no fun. But that fucking, just like, I just see these young comics come around going like, what's going on with those two guys? We're like, hey, what's going on? You know, like, we were just fucking wide open doing these rails. And we thought, there's this moment where you're like, you know, this is what it's like, man. This is how it goes. And these kids are like, what's up with these weird old drug freaks? Come on, man. This is how we live. I didn't like heroin. Ecstasy, I think, came out when I was in college. I did it maybe once or twice. That was nice. I liked crank, but I didn't get strung out on it. I remember one time I got an 8-ball of what I thought was coke, but I didn't know what it was, but it lit me up, you know. I used to do a joke about crank. I used to say it's good for the first hour. It's what you do with the other 72 that becomes the challenge. It's like, I'm insulating my apartment with the cotton from aspirin bottles. Look at the maze I'm drawing. Yeah, that is weird when Mike does that. Oh, but anyways, the funny thing was at that hotel, man. There were two moments in the last two times that I did drugs that were kind of funny. When I was with Hedberg, you know, there was a lot of, you know, we were on a co-headline show. And we were up for days, and he had some of that tar, you know. So I don't know what him and Lynn are up to, but I you know, it was never really my bag, but tar I can deal with. So, you know, I was smoking it off the foil and getting loopy. But I just remember after like 3 days of this shit, and the festival's over, and we were kind of holed up in these rooms, like, because you lose track of time. That's one thing I noticed about the movie The Fighter. Was those scenes in the crack house when they're all outside for that minute? There's a moment where all those crackheads are looking for where he parked the car, and it's just that sort of moment where it's like it's light out, you haven't been out. Like, they did that really well. But the thing that happened in Seattle was I was online to check out, and I remember I had to vomit from the dope, I guess, and I went outside and I threw up in a planter, and then I went and settled up with the fucking desk, and I was like, I'm living it, man. I'm living it. And I just remember flying home on that. I just wanted to sleep so I could tell my wife that I had the flu or whatever. I just remember I was set by a fucking window, and there was a couple next to me, and the woman had some sort of cold, and she was coughing the entire time, and I was like, fuck you. Fuck you. And then the other thing, one of the greatest lines, I thought, because it was funny, was in Chicago, my friend Dave's brother worked at the hotel we were at. He was like a concierge, and I think his girlfriend got us like this. I remember these kids brought us, like, some guy brought us another 8-ball and then fell out of my pocket, and we had to go back down the street, and somehow it was miraculously still on the street, blah, blah, whatever. But my buddy Dave's brother, Shannon, worked at the fucking hotel. And I remember, because he knew what was going on, because we were doing this shit for days. I remember I was checking out of the hotel, and he was there, looking at me, and, like, I saw him months later. And he said, do you remember that day when you checked out? And I'm like, kinda. He goes, your luggage was sweating. Your luggage was sweating. I thought that was funny. But then, yeah, so 21 years sober. Great stories. Did I drop out in the middle of one, or did you get all of them? We are cowboys. I remember that, man. I remember that because Charlie Ezell, after we Are Cowboys, is like, he literally, Charlie literally walked away. Like, I dropped him off with a rent-a-car or something. He said, just drop me off on the street. And I just remember Charlie walking down the middle of the street with what was left of a box of a 12-pack. And I'm like, I guess that's riding off into the sunset, right? You want to know what the costumes were? I don't know. I think there was, maybe it was Halloween, maybe it was October. They weren't really costumes. They were just sort of like, like party hat kind of. They weren't like, full on costumes, but they'd just been to another party. Oh, Crank. Oh, yeah, the Crank story, Jimmy. The Hammerhead story. God, I still remember that man. The dude who I used to get the drugs from, Hammerhead, used to live in a building down the Lower East Side. This was in New York, mid-90s. But he had kind of it was sort of like this salon. Like there were guys that would hang out. But I used to have it in my mind that the Tom Rhodes story, that's a funny story. I used to have it in my mind that I could do like some coke and then like not tell my wife and then be home later, like after a normal night, and just be like, go to bed. And I can't tell you how many times that I convinced myself of that if I just get started with the blow at like 5 or 6, it was usually on a Monday through Wednesday in New York, because Monday was Luna, and like I just start partying. I wasn't in a story yet. I was on 16th and 3rd, but I just remember this one time I go over to Jimmy's to get some blow. I just remember pushing that buzzer, dude, it's Maron, dude, and it was still light out, and it's during the week, and I want some blow. But he's always there. He's like, well, I'm not really set up. I'm like, just come on, let me come up. I remember I went up to his house, up to the apartment, which had all these fucking action figures and candles. It was a fucking trip. I can't even tell you the people I saw come through there, because they used to hang out. He'd hang out because he'd always put a bunch of blowouts. He'd just hang out and see who came around, talk a lot of talking. So it's like 6 p.m, and I go up there, and he hasn't, he's closing the blinds, right? He's not set up. And I actually had never seen the dark cave in the light, and I was like, wow, this is like a real apartment. But I just wanted to get like a gram or something. And then this little Latino man comes over. Looked like he was 100 years old, with a little cap and a little bag. And he comes over and he hands Jimmy a little wad of foil. And I'm like, what? And then Jimmy opens the wad of foil, and there's this fucking rock of coke, like shiny. It was like I'd never seen the pure rock of coke. And I'm like, that's the original stuff. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, let's do some. So he he knocks some off of the rock, and he chops it up. And we do 2 lines off of that rock, and I'd never felt it before, but like there was like this tingling behind my eyes. It just sort of curled back down my head, all the way down my spine, and then I felt like I could fucking levitate. It was fucking great. And I said to Jimmy, I said, why don't you sell that? And he goes, because people would never leave me alone. And then he just dumped that fucking rock right into a bag of fucking shake, crunched it all up, and made the garbage that he sells. Boy, that was probably the best line. That's probably the best line. Best line of blow ever. Jimmy. I heard he has an olive farm in Italy now. Did someone say they knew Jimmy on here? You'd have to be kind of older. He was great. Oh, the other Jimmy story. Was I had gotten some blow out here in California from Bob, and it seemed really good, or really something. I don't know what it was. It tasted kind of weird, but it was like Ugh. I remember I had a little bit of it when I got back to New York and I went over to Jimmy's. And I remember I had it in a little fucking bindle. And I'm like, I'm not sure what this is, dude. Can you tell me if this is blow? And I remember like Jimmy just like wet his finger and he stuck his finger, wet finger, like into a little bit of the powder and he put it in his mouth. And literally, like it took like 3 seconds. He's like, oh no, that's speed. And then he goes, ooh, it's good speed. Oh, how fun. How fun is it to reflect on the drug stories? Does anyone give a shit? How do we get here? Did you know Jimmy? Amy? Hammerhead Jimmy. That was good. I made it out alive. I did make it out alive. I know John Innes. I've known John Innes forever from Mr. Show. I first met John Innes and Dave Cross when I was, Jesus, it was before I even started doing comedy. When I was still in college or just after college. I met them in a very weird way. But I've known Innes and Cross forever. I think I'm going to have Dave back on for this new movie he's in. Yeah, I need to call my sponsor too. Knowing Jimmy is the opposite of being a friend of Bill. Everyone knew a Jimmy, man. Anyone who's a friend of Bill had a Jimmy. There's no fucking doubt about that. Everybody had a Jimmy. Is your guy there? Is your guy? It's like that Kennison story. That was a big lesson. But I don't think I tell that Kennison story. I haven't told that too much. Not the one where he pisses on my bed, but the other one. Chappelle's always invited. He don't want to do it. How old was I when I bought my first house? I've only owned 2 houses. And I probably wouldn't have never left the other one. Let's see. I was probably 43. Any good Jon Stewart stories? No, not really. Not really. Just the one where he's like, he got me pretty good. Why did I leave the old house? I was there for a long time, right? That's where the show started. I was there for like 12 or 13 years. And I'd been through a lot at that house. And it was kind of falling apart. And I didn't know what to do with it. And I didn't know how to fix it. Because I had to learn that you just have to get things done or fix things. So it was broken down. And also the neighborhood was getting a little annoying. Some people kind of blame me for that, but I had no idea. I wasn't no hipster when I bought that house. When I bought that house, I was literally driving a guy around who I knew from AA, kind of, from New York, who wanted to rent a house. And we were driving around Highland Park, and I drove by that house, and I'm like, it was for sale. And I'm like, that's a tiny little house. How expensive could that be? I just left because, like, it was sort of, falling apart, and I was kind of half looking, and I thought, like, well, when I moved in this house, I went through divorce in that house. I went through several horrible relationships, and I thought I was going to die in that house, that I had no choice. But then once I was alone and I'd saved a little money, I'm like, why do people buy new houses? It's like, well, that's what you do when you want to, make your life a little bigger or try to enjoy a different thing. And I'm like, well, I'd like to try to enjoy something. So I started half looking for another house. And then Sarah found this one online or something, and I came over, and I'm like, this is the best house I've ever seen in my life. And an actor lives in my old house, some guy who didn't even know who I was. He's done good stuff with it. Sometimes I go over there. I know him, kind of. I go over there to pick up mail. I did not single-handedly gentrify that neighborhood. As a matter of fact, when I moved there, they were already talking about it, but I didn't even know the neighborhood really. But I think because I used to say, I was broadcasting from the cat ranch in Highland Park. Maybe, but I mean, by the time I got there, I think the York was already there, and every year they would talk about it, like Highland Park's about to happen, and I'm like, I don't know. Do I keep a journal? No. This is my journal. I've kept journals before. During that second divorce, I kept a journal, but I can't look at them. I don't know where Sarah is. She doesn't talk to me. Yeah, it started before me. Yeah. I've been in this house a couple years. It took me a long time not to get mail at that house, because over time, when people send you things, here's what happens. Like if you have a show, it's like a radio station almost. Like you get one book to look at, or some promotional thing for a guest, and you say, all right, go ahead and send it to my house. And then for the rest of time, they send you shit. And by the time you leave after a decade, it's just like there's just shit being sent to the house. It took me a long time to, get off all those lists. Oh, no, I do not talk to, no. Do I record or rewatch my sets? I definitely did a lot of recording of a lot of sets, but I almost never listened to them or watched them. Does moving suck? It did, but like when I got this place, I moved that other house carload by carload over time, because there was no urgency, because I had bought the house and I hadn't sold that one yet, so I was just sort of like, I couldn't believe that I bought this house, so I moved it over in carloads. It's crazy. Yeah, I tried to reread the journals from the divorce, and it was like, wow. I mean, it served its purpose, but I can't read it. I remember one time I left the journal in the hotel room of another comic who was opening for me. I was so terrified that they read it, because it was like, there was some shit in there that I was going through, and I'm like, oh, and I remember that. I was working, it was, God, what year was that? 2006 or 7. I was working in, I think, the Bay Area with Jacob Siroff, and I left the goddamn journal in his room because I was hanging out with him and his wife at the time, and I was like, oh fuck, there's no way that guy didn't read it. He claims he didn't, and even if he did, he said he didn't, and I appreciate that. Magic Asphalt shows routine. I'm not doing any outdoor drive-in shows or parking lot shows. I'd rather quit doing comedy than do that. I've done my part. I did the best I could do. Last 2 specials were great. I don't know that it's going to get much better than that. There's nothing to reflect on now. We're all living the same stupid life. It's like, yeah, it's tough. Can't talk, can't do shit. World's ending. And, hopefully hopefully we can get new management. But no, I'm not doing any of that. Oh, I'm glad you liked Sort of Trust. Yeah, that was a great experience, that movie. Yeah, you must have read a couple pages for sure. But it's all right now. I put a lot of it in my last book anyways. in attempting normal. All right. Well, this has been good, right? What was I like as a little kid? Was I funny? I was a smart ass, but I think I was kind of funny. Any acting goals? Read. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do more acting. I'd like to try to get better at that. I was just starting to get the hang of it and enjoy it and understand, some take more chances. I'd like to get that opportunity. But I can do that if I live in another country. I can fly in for something. There's been a couple of things that have come up, but nothing's really manifested. I don't think being on a set right now is that fun, man. I know some people are shooting. And God, it's got to be horrendous. There's just the element of fear and the element of mass and the element of you do your scene and then you kind of run and put yourself into a box or something. No, I have no desire to direct. Would you have a debate in Germany about cancel culture and political correctness? What does that mean? Okay, knock yourself out. My role in Easy. Yeah, I loved Easy. I thought that was great. Do I have any plans to write more? I don't know, not really. Why? I have friends who write. It's a relentless, thankless job. I was great in The Joker. Thank you. I tried to show up for my little scene. It was exciting. Massage. Have I ever tried massage? Yeah, I like a nice massage. Have I ever turned down a guest on the podcast? We get pitched people all the time. But I like a good massage, but you never know you're going to get a good massage unless you have a regular massage person. I don't have a regular massage person. I'm not that person. But sometimes I want a massage. I want you to get in there and fucking do it. Come on, hurt me. And then it's just sort of not satisfying. There's nothing worse than, a not satisfying massage. It's sort of like an endless, hug from a stranger that you didn't really want. I mean, look, it's just writing for me is so tedious. You want to see Buster? Yeah. Any Smigel stories? No, I don't really know Smigel that well. I've only met him a few times. We never really worked together. I do love him, though. I'm trying to think I don't feel like I have any personal Smigel stories. You like the vibe I had with Bonnie McFarlane? Come on, why isn't... Use whatever options you have at your disposal to maintain your sanity without hurting yourself or others, you fuckers. That's crank, man. All right. Are we winding down? Botox. What? Did you watch Bill Burr host any? Yeah, I thought Bill was good. I'd seen a couple of those jokes, and I guess yeah, I thought it was good. I like Bill. He's a funny man. I like that Boston sketch because Bill knows that shit. Both of those characters he did with the Boston act, with the Boston sketch is funny because it's so fucking real. The hand is good. It's actually not tender anymore. It healed up. I took a picture of it and I sent to, I like to go fast, buddy. And I sent it to my doc and everything's good. It was so fucking great in The Fighter in that movie because, Wahlberg, Wahlberg comes from that, right? And there's a moment where he says something that it's like no way it was scripted, and it was so perfectly fucking towny New England, where all the sisters are on the porch and they get into a fight with Amy Adams. That's her name, right? His girlfriend. He says, "Get out of here. Go. Screw. Screw." Nowhere else in the fucking world do they say screw to get out of here other than fucking right there. Boston and surrounding areas. Get the fuck out of here. Screw. Just screw. Fuck, that moment where he says screw, so good. Buster's okay. Like, I've been fucking a little sad the last few days, so I kind of project that onto Buster, and I decide that he's sad. I think, when you, do the pointer thing, or get the, Buster, I think he gets to a point where he has, trouble breathing. Yeah, the Sam Adams bit, that was fucking funny. Jack White I thought was pretty good. I don't know, I don't really connect with a lot of his solo stuff, and I have a hard time with the way he plays guitar, but it's good to see him. I do have a Gibson 335. I did not think that Christian Bale overdid it. But do your cats get winded? I'm worried about them. Maybe I shouldn't run them around. You know what? Fucking screw. Just fucking screw. I like when you guys try to bait me into talking about, come on, say something shitty about somebody. Jon Stewart doesn't like me. And probably rightfully so. And that's just the way it is. The drummer on Jack White's drummer is great, and he just plays like that. I think he just likes to stand up and do that business. I think that's just his trip. Both of those, that rhythm section was great, and I thought Jack was Jack. I like his cover of that cover that he did of on. Which one? On Blunderbuss? I'm Shaken? Shaken? Is that the name? When I heard that on the radio, I'm like, who the fuck is doing this? Because I know the Blasters covered it. And then I heard that cover on the radio with the background vocals. I was like, that's the fucking best thing I ever heard. Is it called I'm Shaken? I think that's the name of it. That cover, I loved it. I've not watched McCabe and Mrs. Miller recently. Yeah, I'll probably get another cat. I have to see. I do the slow blinking thing with Buster. I can hold Buster like a baby and no one else can. And when I do that, he kind of settles down a bit. I guess I'm going fucking. I could do a workout, but I think I'm gonna go hiking by myself. Fuck this shit. No one can give me that. The Fighter is a great movie. It's such a great movie, and it's got a great arc, and the characters are great, and it's great. Fucking love that movie. That guy can make a fucking movie when he sets his mind to it. No one's gonna give me the validation or is the song called I'm Shaken, the one that the Blasters did and Jack covered, I think, on Blunderbuss. Nobody? Nothing? Okay, you want to go look at Buster? How many times do I got to answer the Bill Burr question? I thought Bill was Bill. He did what Bill does. Why does everybody got to be like, what's going on? What did he just say? Oh, have you not watched him for the past 20 years? All right. Buster, there's been a request. There's been a request, Buster. Yeah. Uh-huh. Are you up for it? Are you going to be shy today or no? There's people that, what? Come here. What? Oh, see? See? You'll put on a show, right? Right, bud? You can put on a show? Buster. 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 What are you doing? Huh? Yeah? What are you doing? Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. You're like a doggy. You're like half a doggy. Right? Make some noises. Make some noises. Go ahead, ruin my carpet. Ruin the rug. I appreciate the idea that, thank you, Buster, that you guys, some of you think that I can just host SNL. You know, but I think that ship has sailed. And, I don't know that I'm relevant enough to host SNL. But I appreciate the fact that some of you think I can. I've got a couple of new records I'll show you, and then we can wrap this shit up. Look at that. These are Amandul Krautrock American pressings. This one is good. There's a sample, the Beastie Boys sampled on this, from this. And this one's good. Some nice kind of hippie-ish music. And I got this too. And Mike from Ship John sent me these. I don't know anything about him. This is his buddy, and I think this is his band. And I got this. I didn't realize it was a reissue, which bothers me, but at least it's a good company. Sundazed does pretty good work. And some Australian garage rock. Okay? Is that enough? Do you need other things? Is there more that you want from me? Can I go? Can I leave? Do you want to see what's in the fridge? That's always fun. Let's do the fridge. Oh! Yogurts. Krauts. That's spaghetti squash. Roast carrots. Beet greens. Lemon dressing. Quinoa and lentils. Israeli salad. Sauteed mushrooms. Cooked onions. Kabocha squash, yams, eggies. Good times. I tried to, I don't remember. I don't know what I was going to say. All right. Well, I guess we burnt up some time. I could have been working. You guys, I could have been working on what? On my new hour about what? I'm going to do some bits about sitting on my porch talking to strangers on my phone. I'm going to do 20 minutes on that. About life in quarantine. Wayne Coyne. I'm not plant-based, no. I had a fucking ribeye steak last night that I cooked on my Traeger grill. That was given to me for this, probably the sole reason for what I just did just then. Traeger gave me a grill, so occasionally I go, I don't have to, but it's true. Do I like Eels music? Yeah, I like Marc. You got a tenderloin? It's good. Yams versus sweet potatoes. I have some potatoes. I like sweet potatoes a lot. I like Japanese sweet potatoes. We've done this. Anything else? Did we get validation on the name of that song? Down, boom, down, down, boom. How's it go? Boom, 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 ba-dum, boom, boom, ba-dum, ka-dum, down, ka-dum, ka-dum, boom. Early in the morning time, and I'm shaking, right? Shaking, right? Yeah, I'm shaking. Yeah, good. It's hard for me to say whether I like the Blasters or Jacks better. On Blunderbuss, yeah. To me, that was like the fucking best thing that guy did. Is that crazy? I interviewed Jack a long time ago. It's up there. I went to his office. All right. You guys, take care, man. All right? The Jack White version is great. When those background singers come in, man. Where can I get the face shields that I wear in the grocery store? There's actually better ones. There's like these cheapo ones that are better. Those ones that are we doing this? Am I going to help you out? I don't know where the hell you get them though. The ones I got are a little too fragile. But these other ones, fuck. I think it's in the car. Like these ones these are the Fabers, but they're very fragile. They come undone. They break. This Lynn's jacket. And hold on. Yeah, they're from Fabers, but like, you know, they come apart and they break very easily. So, you know, I'm not against that company. They do good work, but they either got to simplify the design or something, because it's like sometimes you just got to throw that shit on. Whereas like these things, like this fucking thing is actually the fucking thing to do. Like this thing, this thing couldn't be simpler. It's just a fucking little strip of thin plastic with like, it's fucking nothing, but this is so much easier and so much better. There's not even a brand name on this. They just sent it to me with the fucking plexiglass divider that I got for the garage. So I wish I could help you, but I would go with something more like that. Fuck, man. Am I going to go hiking by myself? The doormat was a gift. Okay. Why am I... All right. No, you can't just wear the mask, dude. You got to wear the mask. You got to wear the shield with a fucking mask. The air is great right now. It looks like it. But you can't, I wear a fucking N95 and I wear the goddamn plastic shield. And maybe I'm crazy, but I don't want to fucking get this thing and it's not going away and people are fucking stupid. So maybe I'll do this tomorrow. I don't know. I feel like I'm running out of things to say. Go listen to Wayne Coyne. I think we had a good time. All right? Bye. Wait, how about a real smile? Hold on. That's not a real smile. There you go. All right?